All right, broads, moms are so hard to shop for. And trust me, my mom takes the cake. God bless you, Mom. Yes, I know that she's going to love no matter what I give her and she'll appreciate it. But my goodness, a little direction would be nice. You know, a little direction.
Oh, yes. And moms, I think especially our moms, I'm just going to say that, can be impossible to get gifts for.
Mm-hmm.
And we are moms. We're impossible to get gifts for too. So let Storyworth take some of the pressure off this Mother's Day with the perfect gift. Storyworth is an online service that gets the important women in your life sharing stories through thought-provoking questions about their memories and personal thoughts. I got this for both my mom and my grandma for Christmas because my mom actually requested it after I got it for my dad.
Yes, we love that. Each week,
don't you want to hear about my stories?
We love that, Mom. Each week, Storyworth emails one different story prompt, and at the end of 1 year, they compile the stories into a beautiful keepsake book that you and your mom or aunt or grandma can both cherish forever.
Give your mom the most meaningful gift this Mother's Day with Storyworth. Get started right away. No shipping's required by going to storyworth.com/chatty. You'll get $10 off your first purchase. That's storyworth.com/chatty for $10 off. Love Storyworth.
Broads, it's about time I let you in on a little secret that I use to keep things dynamic in the bedroom, and that is adamandeve.com. Adamandeve.com is my favorite website when it comes to all things sexy, playful, and experimental. Seriously, if you're into it, adamandeve.com has it from lingerie and toys to bondage and so much more. Adamandeve.com is your one-stop adult fun shop. Plus, they're loading on the free stuff with every purchase. They're even offering 50% off almost any single item, but that's just the beginning, because if you enter code CHATTY at checkout, you'll get 10 free gifts. A gift for you, a gift for your partner, a gift for you both, and 6 free movies. Plus, you'll get free shipping on your whole order.
Enter code CHATTY at checkout and you're going to get 10 free gifts. That's CHATTY, CHATTY, offer code CHATTY at checkout at adamandeve.com.
And welcome to another episode of Chatty Broads with Becca and Jess.
Well, hey there, broads. Hello.
Hi.
Hi, broads. Welcome to a Tuesday. You know what I realized, Becca? Broads, we're recording these episodes. This one is recorded like a week beforehand. And as we record this, we haven't heard anyone's response to any of our episodes last week, which include another Chatty Bros episode.
Once again, we are talking to the future.
We're talking to the future.
From the past.
Y'all have heard our episode with Harry Jowsey, which was wild. And
basically, if for any reason you were upset about anything we said last week, we can't address it right now because we don't know, because we're from the past.
This is a disclaimer from the past.
I love your shirt, though. I don't have any problems with that. God loves me, and there's nothing I can do about it. Did you get it from that?
Yes, Becca turned me on to an Instagram that I am now obsessed with, and to the point that I bought merch. I don't remember the last time.
They're sending me merch now, and I just saw you had that, and I'm very excited. Mine says God is obsessed with me.
Becca, I can't remember the last time I purchased merch.
I know.
You showed me this Instagram, and now I'm like, I'm obsessed with this. What's the name of it again?
I need God in every moment of my life.
Hell yes, I'm obsessed. They are fantastic. Shout out that Instagram. I bought your merch. I needed it immediately. Fantastic merch.
So good
in all the ways.
Their name is God Lovers. Bio, we specialize in loving God.
I mean, it's absolutely 10 out of 10 content over there. But speaking of needing God and the Bible and all that, broads, we have another Bible Broads episode for you today. And you know what? We had talked a lot of Bachelor, and we have our dates now that we're going to have back to back. We're going to have Bachelorette into Bachelor in Paradise, and probably then another Bachelorette season. Bachelor in Paradise. Batch. And so it had been a hot minute since we kind of dove into the Bible Broads again, which is one of our main...
Not counting Pete Rollins, but we didn't really dive in.
We didn't dive in
enough for me. I wasn't wet enough.
You were wet enough thinking about that. And, you know, this is kind of one of the things that really started our podcast in general, like kind of the veins of Chatty Broads. One of those veins was Bible Broads. And a lot of it is because...
It's a vein of our relationship.
Exactly. And I think, you know, sometimes I'll get like DMs and people are like, oh, like, what's your background? You guys talk about this Bible Broads thing. I'm like, well, if you don't know, and I feel like we've talked about this a million times, but for any new listeners, Becca and I were born and raised in the church. Our families are still deeply involved. It's the schools we went to, the things we were taught like from infancy. And it's something that, you know, I know for myself still on a daily basis, I walk through, whether that be my perspective on the world, certain traumas from that, unpacking a lot of that, trying to figure out how I'm going to raise my child, my family relationship. It's part of almost every day subconsciously, because it's how we were raised.
Into the fiber of us.
Yeah. So it's something that we love to talk about.
God is in my blood.
God is in my blood.
And there's nothing I can do about it.
And there's nothing I can do about it, baby.
But you found our guest today.
Yes, I found our guest today. Shout out Michaela, who's been one of our past guests who we love so much from the Black Chillerettes. And I saw her repost something from Brianda, who is our guest. And I thought it would be so fun to have her on because Brianda is a devout current Christian. And we find out later in this episode that she became a Christian somewhat recently. Mm-hmm. And I just thought it would be such an interesting conversation because Becca and I, you know, we normally have these conversations where we're unpacking all of our trauma and all these things that we went through growing up in a Western evangelical Christian perspective. And I thought it'd be interesting to have on somebody who currently believes this and also has a really, I mean, at least from my perspective, a really healthy, dynamic relationship with Christianity.
With God.
With God, yes. So, I don't know, I thought it would be an interesting take.
Well, now we're speaking from the future because we already recorded the episode with her and now we're doing the intro. So now we're speaking from the future. First, we were talking from the past in the beginning of this episode. Yes. Now, 2 minutes later, we're speaking from the future. You're going to love this episode. She is so fresh and so just like real and honest. And
and she's so passionate about what she believes in, which I love to hear.
Yeah. And I think what's interesting about her too is that because she is coming to her faith like later in life, it's not just none of her faith is inherited. It's all discovered.
Yes.
And there's something that's so refreshing about just where she's coming from. So.
Yeah. So we have a lot of great conversations and we thought it would just be a fun twist since you and I are always unpacking and critiquing to have someone on coming from a different perspective from the Bible Broads.
Although we still do plenty of critiquing and unpacking in the best way on this episode.
Of course, because we can't help it. Nope. So Broads, we hope you enjoy it. Check out all our info in the episode notes below. You're going to love this episode. So
let's dive in.
And
get wet.
Thank you so much for coming.
Hi. Thank you for having me. I love the brand. I love you guys' look. You know, I mean, I don't want to say very rarely, but like anytime I see podcasters, indie podcasters doing it, like seeing the production value and seeing like quality work from like creators, man, I'm like, I want to be on your show. I don't care what level of success I ever get to. Like, I respect it. Thank you for having me.
So appreciate.
Remember us little people when you get there, please.
Oh my gosh. Listen, we're all going up. You and I, all of us, we're all going, and your husband who's producing, we're all going up.
Oh yeah. You know, he's just trapped in the house basically. But oh my goodness, thank you so much for joining us. Now, do you mind giving everyone a little bio and also for us too?
Yeah, we'll give you a little bio too.
Yeah, we're just meeting.
I was just going to ask, I was literally, before we started, I was like, I want to know where you guys are from. Like what we have to start. So obviously you guys said my name is Brianda. I am Dominican American, daughter of two immigrant, hardworking people. I was going to say dudes. I don't know why. I'm not the catchphrase girl. But I am an actor. I've been in New York City trying to make it in TV for the last 10 years. I have been wildly unsuccessful. So I started a podcast, much like a lot of different performers. But I've been podcasting since 2018. I had a psychedelic podcast from 2018 to 2020 that people know me from. And then they like saw this severe pivot.
Wait, what do you mean when you say psychedelic podcast?
I used to interview a lot of different psychonauts or performers that were, openly using psychedelic medicine or any kind of alternative medicine. And believe it or not, a lot of comedians do psychedelics.
Shocking.
We all drop acid because we're so sad. And then, now that landed me ultimately a Bible show being produced by one of the, top podcasters, Wheezy WTF from Horrible Decisions.
Yes.
And that's ultimately how Just found me. So yeah, it all just started. We're only on like week 7 of the podcast, and it's been like the numbers are nice.
Yes, it's fresh and it's going to be gigantic.
That's so exciting!
Fun.
Congrats to you. Okay, a little bit about yourself. Where are you? Okay, did you already say where you're from originally?
Oh, I'm from Boston.
Oh, okay.
Boston, but my family's Dominican.
We were both born and raised in California, so it's like the whole East Coast thing. I'm like, oh, Boston, yes, like New Jersey, New York, yes, love it there. Like,
we're so different, but I think the biggest difference is the fact that Californian I meet, they just don't get mad as quickly.
Oh,
or they're not like as about it. Or like everyone on the East Coast, like if we're mad, you're going to know about it and it's going to be instantly.
But here's what we say, because we watch Real Housewives, and when you compare, let's say, Real Housewives of Beverly Hills or Orange County to Real Housewives of New York City, there's a big difference, because the people in California, we're trying to hide our true emotions, to pretend like we're happy all the time, which means that we can, one, be two-faced bitches like on Real Housewives, where they're like, oh my God, fucking Kathy's about to get here. And then she comes in, it's like, Kathy, I love your dress. Where'd you get it? Whereas in New York, when someone walks in immediately, they're like, Kathy, get the fuck over here. But it's good, because in California, I feel like we have more like breakdowns, like quarterly breakdowns, because we've been holding in our anger and sadness. That's
what do we do? What do we say about Salt Lake City? Like that region?
Well, I don't know what I watched Salt Lake City. That was just absolute madness. I have never seen anything like that.
And I don't know what's happening there.
I don't know what's going on in that region.
I was like, I am so confused. What's happening? This is not East Coast. This is not West Coast. But no, it's so true. We like passive aggressive over here, which is why I love East Coasters, because I know exactly
Put it all out there.
I know how you feel about me right away.
What you see is what you get.
Exactly. Okay, broads, we're going to take a quick pause. Is there anything better than stepping out of a hot shower smelling clean? Whatever scent you prefer, it doesn't matter. Just the smell of freshly shampooed hair is as close to pure bliss as it gets for me. I'm currently obsessed with Function of Beauty products because they smell like eucalyptus. Mine smell like eucalyptus, which is my favorite scent of all time. Although it's hard to pick favorites because you really can't go wrong when it comes to Function of Beauty.
Or you can choose scentless if that's what you prefer among all the other scents. I love that option. If you aren't familiar with Function of Beauty, listen up, because this is a game-changing hair care brand. Function of Beauty is the world's leader in fully customizable hair care, and all of their products are sulfate and paraben-free, vegan and cruelty-free. And not surprisingly, Function of Beauty has over 60,000 5-star reviews, and I have to say they deserve every one of them.
I love my Function of Beauty products. Like I said, I got mine in eucalyptus, and the customization helps to give me hair volume and shine, which I'm looking for. And by the way, also as far as scents go, you can get Function of Beauty hair care in a variety of other scents, like they have tropical mango, sweet peach, lavender rose, and so many more. So go ahead, turn your beauty routine into a full-on aromatherapy session. You deserve it. You deserve it.
Go to functionofbeauty.com/broads to take your hair quiz and save 20% on your first order. That applies to their full range of customized hair, skin, and body products. That's functionofbeauty.com/broads to let them know you heard about it here and to get 20% off your order. That's functionofbeauty.com/broads.
Broads, let's talk period care products, okay? Recently, period care products have started to get a well-deserved redo, and I'm a big fan. No longer do you need to pick and choose what you want in period care, whether that's something that can be worn all day or something that's 100% leak-proof or something that's better for you and the planet. Now you can have it all. You can have it all. With Flex, we have to give some major love to our favorite period care brand, Flex. Flex is innovating period care with products that are body safe, made for comfort, and made to keep you moving through life uninterrupted.
I've had their menstrual cup for a really long time, and I tried their Flex disc very recently when I got my period for the first time in forever. And I swear that was it for me, because for starters, it holds as much liquid as 3 super tampons. That means you can put in 1 disc in the morning, and the rest of the day you're all set. Also, as Jess is about to tell you, the reason that I tried it was for period sex.
It's true. It's true. I have to say, I was unsure about the Flex disc only because it looked like nothing I'd ever seen before. But after trying it, I was so impressed. Pretty much forgot I even had it in. And like Becca was saying, the best part, mess-free period sex. Never thought I would be able to say those words, but I can confirm it works. Mess-free period sex. It is amazing. Say goodbye to cramps, put sex back on the table, and lend Mother Nature a hand. Go to flexfits.com/chatty and use promo code chatty for 20% off Flex disc starter kits or 10% off your first Flex cup, plus free US shipping. That's code chatty at fits.com/chatty. Well, Becca and I, just so you know, we were born and raised over here, but born and raised really deep in the church. So homeschooled, super conservative Christian parents, involved in like leadership in the church and all that. So Becca and I now are at a place where we would say we're deconstructing.
I would call myself a practicing Satanist, and no, just
so
kidding.
Welcome.
Oh my God.
No, I'm just kidding. But
no.
We both are like trying to, I would say, especially over the past 3 years since starting our podcast, we've been, deconstructing or maybe post deconstruction and trying to navigate where we're at now in our spiritual journeys. And for me, at least personally, that's oftentimes weaving in and out of, biblical truths and wisdoms that I do still really value and try to incorporate in my life in the way that I move about the world and with the people that, come in and out of my life. But then also taking the, forging my own way and being like, no, this is how I'm going to do things. And I'm not going to let this narrative that I was sold throughout my childhood dictate how I live my life. So,
Becca, out of curiosity, what are the things specifically that compel you to dive back in? What are those things?
I think, like I said, like I don't know if I believe like in objective truth, but I think that there are truths and there's like wisdom that stands the test of time. And I think that there are a lot of like proverbs and just like even specific verses and stories in the Bible that I carry with me. And sometimes when I'm having issues or struggles in my life or relationship problems or whatever, because those things are drilled into my mind so much as a child in a good way, they surface in my head. And I'm like, oh, like this is wisdom that's guiding me, like ancient wisdom. And I think that there's something in that for me, at least.
Okay. I'm just always curious to hear, cause I have the opposite, like flip it 180. I grew up atheist and was saved at 25. Yeah. Off a really heavy macro dose of acid. And I was reading the book of John, but I mean, here's the thing. I was like an atheist activist. Like I would read the Bible just so I could debate people. And then I feel like I hoodwinked myself. Like Jesus literally was like, gotcha. I remember it is what they say. It's as simple as that. It's like, you have a calling and it really is just that. Where I'm either dissociating, I'm like something is, or it's this divine thing. And because of the favorable sensations I'm feeling, I'm going to go ahead and say divine.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
So that happened 2018. Yeah.
Now, here's the thing though. I don't know what your parents' situation is like, but my parents both became born again Christians in their 20s. My mom growing up in, I guess, like a loosely agnostic household, and my dad growing up, I'm Mexican American. My dad is Mexican, and he grew up in like a more loosely Catholic household. And they both had like dramatic conversion stories like in their 20s, where my dad had like a very, what I'm trying to think of what the word is, where you have like
intense,
I can't think of what it's called, like a encounter. That's the word I was looking for. Like an intense spiritual encounter with like prophesying and everything. And that's when he like turned the corner and immediately dove into his faith. And they've been really strong Christians ever since. But I think that there is a little difference when you're raised by someone who had, like, I was told what that experience should look like all my life as a child. And so I don't know. I think it's definitely a different path.
Well, my mom was raised, her entire family was raised in the Seventh-day Adventist church, but she was sexually abused by, someone in the church. And just like, I mean, I don't want to tell her story. That's not my responsibility,
sure.
But, like just some really heinous stuff happened within the church. And the second she was old enough, she left home, went to the Capitol in DR, Santo Domingo, chopped her hair off, pierced her ears, like had this rebellious phase. And she raised me and my sister in a very secular, like, I wouldn't go as far as to say atheistic, because she had like, I would more agnostic, like a quiet agnostic upbringing. And it wasn't until the pandemic where she was having, I don't even know, or she just got a divorce from my dad. They had broken, and she's going through it, and she rediscovered her faith. And now 12 months later, she is back in the Seventh-day Adventist church. It's so funny because I was saved before her. We both, I don't call myself like a born again just because I wasn't, baptized. I wasn't raised in it, but she was, but she came back 2 years after me. So I don't know. There was just always this turbulent relationship between her and the church, but she started reconnecting with, like, just directly to God first. And then she went backwards.
Okay.
So two different paths to the same source. My mother and I had, and I've learned a lot from her process too. And this, I mean, she is just a biblical maestro. I feel like, when you do grow up in it, and even now we call people that are new, like, babes in the faith.
Sure.
So I'm still considered a babe in the faith, 100%. I mean, I am knee deep in Christian TikTok. And let me tell you something, there are Gen Zers that sun me, like, they school me with like the any kind of theology, like they know what's up. And I have to say, despite my mother coming back to later, everything she learned from when she was a kid just amplified, and it turned back on. But now she doesn't resent. There's no resentment behind it. Now it's more like gratitude. Like, so if anything, I want to learn from those. I want to be a sponge because I was a little older. It's kind of like older people learning a new language. They definitely have an accent, but it's not impossible. It's just, it's a lot easier when you're younger.
It's funny. My boyfriend majored in religious studies. He was not raised Christian at all, or really religious at all. But it's funny because sometimes we'll get in like little debates where he'll say like, oh, well, this happened and this. And I'm like, no, like what actually happened was this. And now, 3 years into our relationship, he's learned, he's like, if there's any biblical knowledge, like, you defer to Becca. She knows what the fuck she's talking about. And I'm like, yes, that is right. I'm
what
learned.
A gift.
Homeschooled.
Yeah, it's true.
And it's true. And it's so interesting because, like you were saying, when we were raised from a place where it's like, formidable years on up, infant on up, really, for both of us, I think, you have this, you get all this like actual knowledge, or like the knowledge, but maybe not the wisdom yet.
Sure.
But then since we moved away from it to a certain degree, then I feel like at this point I'm finally able in my life to come back and be like, I want to rehash some of these Bible stories and see what I can gain out of them, not necessarily what maybe my specific pastor or parents were teaching me, because I don't necessarily believe in all those things anymore specifically, but I can gather wisdom from those now.
Jess, what's the thing that like totally turns you off about Christianity?
Look at her.
Specifically?
You're like such an amazing interview. You come on our podcast and you're like interviewing us. I love it. I'm loving it, by the way.
I want to get to know you guys. And also your listeners, listen, I'm a podcaster too. Your listeners want to know more about you. Like, they know you.
I know.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? They don't know me. They don't give a fuck about me, really. Like,
once they see the outfits that you are bringing to your podcast, my God, the fashion, broads, you need to immediately go look on her Instagram because the fashion is next level.
Come to our YouTube and our TikTok. Yes, the visuals are iconic.
So good. So good. The thing that turns me off the most is like judgment. That's far and away the biggest thing for me, just because I think, at least how I was raised, it was very much us versus them mentality in all ways. So if you don't have even the specific set of beliefs, I came from like a non-denominational church, but this specific, like when we think the rapture is going to happen, what it'll look like, even other Christian churches outside of that bubble, the group that I would be in would be very judgmental and be like, no, they've got it wrong. So, you know, God knows if you weren't specifically a Christian, the judgment was like through the roof. So I think the inability to really realize or to question, I would say judgment. Yeah. And I guess the inability to question yourself and to like regroup and recalibrate and admit, you know, that sometimes we don't have it all together.
Well, and I know something that's I feel like when I was younger, I just wanted to like do my own thing. And I think that my parents were just a little bit too strict with me, to be completely honest, where it got to like, it was like, I wasn't supposed to have sex before marriage, which then translated to like, I'm not supposed to be dating anyone because that's going to be a sexual thing, which then turned into like, I can't even talk to my mom about crushes I have when I'm in 6th grade, because then I'm going to end up getting a lecture that's going to go back to like, you shouldn't have sex before marriage. And it was just like, in a lot of ways, very stifling and off-putting, because I'm someone that has to like we all have to figure things out for ourselves. And I was being told that. But then also as an adult now, I detest the way that Western Christianity has become wrapped up in like a socio-political framework where it's like, you don't believe climate change is real, and it's white supremacist, and it's, you know, it's like all those things. So much of the Western church and the way that I've watched the churches that I grow up in respond to injustice has been just disgusting and just trash. And it's like these people who claim, and I guess I have it's just a difficult relationship with the church than the actual Bible or anything like that. But it's like it's disgusting saddening to me. Yeah.
It's so saddening. I was just saying, especially after, you know, the whole Lil Nas X situation, which I got a lot of flack for some of my takes. After all of that, it sparked this discussion about just the lens in which we view Christianity, and the church versus relationship with Godism. Like, I was just like, at one point, in order for me to talk to people, I said, oh, okay, because I was just an atheist. I feel like there's a way for me to kind of like, all right, let me change some words around so that we're on the same page here talking.
Yep. It's
like there is Christianity, the organized church, that religion. And then there's also relationship Godism with Godism through Christism. And I think that distinction is so important, because if the individuals who rep the church so hard, the organization so hard, the institution so hard, are the ones who become false teachers, false prophets, completely going against what the text is. I follow the text. Like that for me that's the truth. And we can dive more into specifics later. But like the second you start seeing people do this performative judging tone as opposed to discernment, which we are supposed to do as like practicing Christians, like practicing discernment is also in the book. When discernment starts to bleed into judgment, you're doing the opposite of what Jesus Christ did. We're supposed to mirror what Jesus did, not what man did. And honestly, I just think all these Christians need to do acid. Like they're so married to ego. They're so married to ego and being right and being right for the others and further or the otherizing other people. How the heck do you think you're going to sell anything that way. How are you going to sell God that way? You are ruining God's PR in a horrible way. It's so saddening. Yeah. And you're especially not going to get into Gen Zers. Forget about it.
Yeah. And I think that so many Christians don't want to look at what Jesus actually fucking taught. Mm-hmm. They don't want to hear what he had to say. Jesus, I get actually really heated when I start talking about it and thinking about it, because it's like wealth and like Western Christianity and the leaders of the Western church, it's so enmeshed in wealth and like Republican-esque capitalism. And it's like, that is so not Jesus.
Do you remember in the book of John or is it John? Oh, is it? Look, I have the Bible literally right here because I was doing prep work. But like,
Brianna's going to make us Christians over here.
Listen, the scene where Jesus literally is at the temple and he's seeing people selling ish at the temple. He literally he lifts the tables. He starts yelling at everybody, being like, "What are you doing?" It's like one of the only scenes where you see Jesus go, "Book."
He goes, "You have turned this into a den of thieves." Yeah. And also, this is what I was posting about last year in June when people were talking about protests and riots, and I was like, okay, like it's never okay to like get pissed off about injustice. Like, I don't think you really know your God very well that you claim to know. Obviously, there's a lot of nuance in that conversation, but Jesus does illustrate that it's okay to be angry and it's okay to get pissed when you see something that's not right.
Flip those tables, yeah.
Yeah, and even when there are certain scenes where you see Jesus going off to a secluded area and just praying, or like battling these internal like doubts and demons, not doubting
and
Father,
fear,
of course, but like these are things that like are so deeply humanizing, and yet they're seldom talked about. Like this was a man who knows what you're experiencing firsthand. Like, not just because I believe that he's God incarnate, and that, again, this is verbiage that may fall on deaf ears, but that's just what I believe.
Sure.
Removing that alone, this is a man who deeply understands what you're going through, or like any qualms you may have. Like, there's a reason why we should be mirroring him. And it's not because he's this like, he's the only like this being that's gonna condemn you if you stray. He's a man who knows what it's like to stray, and even then he prayed for those who hated him.
Yeah,
I mean, could you imagine that kind of humility, that kind of heart? That's the North Star, and that's the stuff that we don't talk about.
Yeah, and love and compassion before everything. The number of times that he talked about caring for the poor, the sick, the orphan, the widow. And the number of times he talked about these things that we fight over tit for tat all the time about, like Jesus, his main thing was like, take care of people, have compassion for the people that everyone overlooks. That is your mission here on earth.
Jesus and God, they have an affinity for those who are poor and disenfranchised,
the other
marginalized groups. Like they in John chapter 5 at the pool of Bethesda, where he literally heals the blind and hurt man by the pool, and he was the only man. I keep on saying this. Jesus was a rock star by then. I'm talking about people knew who he was. Like, people would be like, "Oh my God, that's Rockstar! Like, we love him! Like, please, like, sign our autograph." But this guy, he
trying
chose
to grab onto his shirt.
Exactly. Yeah. He chose to heal the person that didn't even know who he was. Literally, Jesus strolled up and was like, "I'm gonna heal you." This guy was like, "Who are you?" Like, he was like, "What?" And Jesus just wanted to heal him anyways. Aside from, he was in a sea of people who like said they loved him and worshiped him. We're really just idolizing. We're not supposed, you know what I'm saying? Like, idolizing for the wrong reasons, but he chose to heal the person that didn't even know who he was. How indicative of God's favor of those that need them most, even when they don't even know God, even if they're not even familiar with them. He'll still cater to them, and he'll still listen to them. The difference that I find with Christianity is that there's this air of God reaching down to us. Christianity is so special because of the story about the pool at Bethesda, like because of those stories like that. There's so many in the Bible where God reaches out to us, where Christ and God, no matter where they meet, he meets you wherever you are. You don't have to perfect yourself in order to call out. Where you are at is the time.
Yeah. And I think that's unfortunately the paradox of the Western institution of the church, is that we preach, at least the way I grew up, is I was always told, you don't have to do anything. It's not by works. It's not by works. You are made perfect through Christ. But that was always the message that was told. But, like they say, actions speak louder than words. But at the same time, the pastor of the church that I grew up with talked about how his mom became a lesbian and how he then didn't talk. He was boasting to the church. This is a huge church in Fresno that my family used to go to, boasting to the church about how he hasn't talked to his mother for the past 10 years because now she is a lesbian. And I'm like, bro, you are so far up your own ass. You have it's just frustrating because it's like that you can't be both. You can't ostracize the people that don't fall into your idea of perfectionism and yet then also say that Christ loves you in spite of every imperfection. That is so trash.
It is so egoic. It literally, for me, anytime I see that kind of rhetoric, that energy, those rules in churches or those stories, those anecdotal stories, I'm always like, it's like water and oil. How the heck do you, that it does not, God repels that. Also, it's not up to you to even be doing that. Why would you to say, you don't want to talk to your mother? What kind of hurt are you experiencing?
Right.
This is so skewed. You have deeply misunderstood the text or the word of God. And it's so saddening.
In which case I'm like, okay, so are you ostracizing all your friends who've got divorces? Brad?
Hey now.
Because I'm sure that's half of your friends. So anyway.
Or those that have committed adultery, sexual immorality, watched porn. I mean, if we're really going to go deep, if they still take the old covenant, shave your beard, get piercings, tattoos, if we're really going to go there, I don't know how far along, and also who is the arbiter of how far we're taking this or whatever. Is it you? It can't possibly be you freaking some random pastor in Fresno. You know what I mean? So I don't know. Yeah, it's a terrible misuse of power, and misuse of power. I mean, it's outside of religion.
Yeah,
it's everywhere.
Yeah, it's abuse. Yeah,
completely. Okay, broads, we're going to pause one more time. Here's the thing. One of life's cruel, cruel jokes is that your sex life can be thrown out of whack by almost anything. Stress at work, a busy day, hormonal changes, the cycle of the moon. Honestly, if you're wanting to have an active sex life and feeling like some of these things are getting in the way, I can tell you about something that I've enjoyed thoroughly, and that is Omax O-Shot, my absolute favorite arousal oil.
Oh my gosh, if you haven't already gotten O-Shot, what are you doing? We've been talking about this brand forever and we've been loving it forever. This stuff is good. O-Shot is made from a blend of 8 organic and natural botanicals plus a broad spectrum CBD. All you have to do is apply it to intimate areas and you'll instantly experience all the good things. Tingling and warming sensations, enhanced lubrication, increased sensitivity, all leading to a more intense climax. And because it's 100% natural, it's 100% edible. It's great for partnered sex or a solo session, y'all. Everyone needs a little O-Shot in their life.
Absolutely. And because we love you, broads, O-Shot CBD is offering all of you broads 20% off O-Shot. This discount also applies towards any product site-wide. So just go to oshotcbd.com today and enter code CHATTY. That's oshotcbd.com and enter code CHATTY to get 20% off O-Shot site-wide.
If you're looking to spice things up, single or partnered, O-Shot comes to the rescue and provides heightened sexual sensations, which can give you the instant and long-lasting satisfaction you've been looking for. And it's 100% edible and natural. Remember, go to oshotcbd.com and enter code CHATTY to get 20% off O-Shot site-wide.
Broads, to say kids move at a mile a minute would be, a massive understatement. Becca's currently recording. Currently recording her ads from home, and you see Ruth and Franklin just bouncing around in the background. I think it would be more appropriate to say that kids move a million miles a minute. It'd be just closer to being accurate. I know I struggle with always wanting to keep my 5-year-old daughter engaged and entertained. That alone is a full-time job. I can't always keep up with her, but with the help of KiwiCo, I almost can. Yes. If you're watching the YouTube, you can see I've got my KiwiCo box right here, broads. We can take a look inside. Oh my gosh. I'm obsessed.
Look at that. Look at that. KiwiCo is redefining the future of play by making it engaging, enriching, and seriously fun. They create super cool hands-on projects and toys. Jess, please have a wheel. You gotta go pee-pee? Look, see, they're going a mile a minute right now. We have in the ad, we have a live
pee break. As Ruth is peeing, I will tell you all more about KiwiCo, okay? They create super cool hands-on projects and toys designed to expose kids to concept in STEAM, science, technology, engineering, art, and math, and are a great resource for learning at home. KiwiCo delivers specially curated crates full of science and art projects every single month. The crates are specifically designed to tackle new subjects in a way that kiddos understand, and everything is included.
This means you're never going to have to dig through your junk drawer looking for glue or scissors again, and you can focus fully on tackling projects and spending time together. Jess, why don't you show us the box? Like, have a little Vanna White moment.
I'm having a Vanna White moment. I'm going to show you the box, and I'm going to let you know inside we have. Oh, what is this season? Capillary action that Ember and I are going to be working on. Oh my God.
She's gonna love that.
She's going to love it. She's also going to be a genius. I don't know about half of this stuff. She's going to be teaching me, and it comes with all the things that you need. No searching through the junk drawers, like Becca was saying. It comes with everything. And honestly, my favorite part is that the instructions are meant for your child's specific age. So Ember has all this independence now where she can go through, spend so much time excitedly making these projects herself. And she does it herself because the instructions make it easy. It's amazing. We love you, KiwiCo.
Love you. Ruth is saying, oh my gosh. Oh my gosh for KiwiCo.
She wants to get her hands on them.
No telling what a KiwiCo kid can do. That's really hard for me to say. I know you went pee-pee. Good job. High five. Yeah. There's no telling what a KiwiCo kid can do. Kickstart curiosity, creation, and innovation in kids today and discover a brighter tomorrow. Get 30% off your first month plus free shipping on any crate line with code CHATTY at kiwico.com. That's 30% off your first month at KIWICO.com. Promo code CHATTY.
Can we hear about your conversion story?
I was literally just about to ask. I want to hear the conversion story.
Cool. I want to hear it too. Every time I say it out loud, I adjust the story ever so slightly, but not adjust as in I change it. I just rediscover something new every time I tell it. So I was super duper duper depressed, and the thoughts of like not being alive were sounding way too sexy for me. To a point where it started really concerning me. And I think all throughout my life, I've had just depressive proclivities, or like I've just always, even in my music, in the movies that I watched and stuff, they always had this dark angle. And I don't know. It's just, it is what it is. And after it was about, I had been in New York for 6 or 7 years. Yeah. And every single thing that I had done, I was so married to career. So I'm just going to put it out there. I was so married to career and so married to this idea of what I wanted my life to be like, that if I didn't have it, then what was the point of even living? Oh gosh. I mean, this is at Brianda at 24, 23, 24, when everything is so much more grave. Right. And I remember watching interviews. I mean, I'm a YouTube kid, and I remember listening to some comics recall or recant stories that were kind of similar to mine. Because, so if you see any interview with a comic, like they had really humbling beginnings. And I related to a few, and one of them being Duncan Trussell. And I saw one of his interviews on Rogan. And I know a lot of women hate Rogan and give him a lot of shit, but that man introduced me to like some of the best natural supplements. He's the reason why I work out the way I do. Like, I'm sorry, but it just is what it is. He really, he's a dope dude. And I can't wait to be on his show one day. Like, yes. Anyway, so it was an interview where Duncan talks about doing acid and reading the Bible. Now, as I mentioned before, I was already familiar with the Bible because I read it with a very secular lens, and I just thought of it as a wisdom book. Like this great stories. Like, sure, I would love to, do acid for the first time and read the Bible. I'll do it for sure. And I did it, and I did a lot of it because at that time I didn't care about life that much. So I really just, I can't even tell you how many micrograms I did, but it was a lot. And I remember.
Were you by yourself?
No, I was with someone. We actually did it very responsibly. Like I said, this is the first time I'd done a psychedelic, and I was 25, just before my 25th birthday. So I wasn't that young per se. I wasn't like, I was a responsible age. We had a roommate be our babysitter. We had, snacks, water, tea, you name it. We had like a charcuterie board. Like it was wonderful.
It was all set up.
Yeah. And I remember the first thing, I just remember hearing, oh man, like, it was just like, even before I picked up the book, it was like, it felt like he just told me he loved me so much. And it felt like you're home now. Just like release yourself from all of that other stuff. It doesn't matter, and I'd never felt anything like that before. And that was the beginning of the trip. And that really opened myself up to the book. And then for the first time ever, I read the book with this new openness. I'd never had it before. It almost felt like I had always read the book with like an arm's distance. And then all of a sudden the arm was removed and I was reading it so closely. And I'm telling you, of the years of me reading the book, I'd never read it in this experiential way. And I said, oh, this is what they talk about. This is why anytime I heard a Christian talk about it, I didn't understand. It's because I was reading it differently. We might as well have been reading a different book, and actually the pool of Bethesda, that story that I just told you, chapter 5, the book of John, chapter 5, that's the story that was the straw that broke the camel's back for me in terms of, oh, this is my calling. This is it. And it was that Jesus healed that man who didn't even know who he was. And that was what was keeping me from faith in the first place, was this gross otherizing, like, oh, I don't want to be a part of a group that does that. That isn't that. And it was proved to me in that moment. So from then on, and I'll also say my spiritual, my spiritual life was only further emboldened and strengthened by the things that I did, right? Like faith with no work is dead faith. So I practice abstinence. I read in a more regimented, routine way. I started deciphering things. I started making decisions in a really responsible way, which was new for me. Again, I was also a little bit older, but like I started to develop this awesome decision-making system where if something crossed past my life that caused me stress or confusion, I knew that was not of God. But if something arose by me that made me feel sensations of confirmation and security, that was of God. So it is just I started developing this system, and I was like, oh, this is the work. Right. But I would definitely say that the abstinence for sure only aided to me refining that decision-making system. And I saw things in my life start to change for the better. Really? I literally saw it with my own eyeballs. Like, that's how you get someone to change, right? Like, to see it. And I said, oh no, Christ is the way.
So I'm curious, do you see abstinence as like a practice, or do you see it as avoiding sin?
oh, a practice. Oh, girls, I have fucked a lot like in my life. You know what I'm saying? Like I've done a whole lot. And so like, I definitely don't have the same, I just don't, because of the way I've came to or got my calling or was saved, if you will. I say saved more than conversion. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, because of that, I think that I'll never be able to view it as, no, it's a sin. I don't want it. I understand what you're asking, but no. And I think the sooner people remove that connotation, or at least work towards reversing that, if they have it, the more comfortable it is. I don't even realize I'm doing it. And I want to say I'm practicing celibacy until marriage is what I'm doing. It just started as abstinence, because when I first was saved, I was like, that is impossible. I am not going to be able to do this. What? I never even thought about it. But that's the way God works. It actually is so funny, because I realized looking back, like, I only ever really did have sex with my boyfriends, and that was by choice. That was as an atheist. Like and then there was this one girl, but like, I only ever had sexual relations with people that I was spiritually connected to anyways, sans religion. So in actuality, Christianity really just gave it a name, but I always kind of had it. And I think that's why it fit me so well. My mom always says it's like a domino effect. Like, if you're really doing things the way God intended, it should be easeful, not burdensome. If it's burdensome, then there's resistance. There's obviously something that is not driving well in your space, and that's okay. It may take time, makes whatever, but no. So to answer your question, no. And when I shifted from calling it abstinence to celibacy, was after feeling so spiritually depleted after going on these dates. Like, I felt like utter crap, like a spiritual hangover after like almost hooking up with guys. Like, there was at one point in my celibacy or abstinence, whatever you want to call it, at the beginning, where like I would try and like like Jimmy rig ways to be like sexual.
Oh no, yeah.
I mean,
so that's what I was gonna say. We're coming from a place of it's not even a question of whether or not you're going to be abstinent until marriage. That is the like supposition that if you're on the Christian journey, you will not be outrightly fucking anyone until you're married, but specifically like penis specifically like vaginal penetration with a penis. You know, it's like,
you want to know something, Becca and Jess? It's like so annoying, because that for me is so misogynistic and like so like
also
to
like this hetero like normative,
normative, yes, to subject, like to think that sex begins and ends with penis in a vagina is so upsetting. Like, that's why when in the beginning I was like, Brie, what are you doing here? Like, you still having sex, girl? What's going on? and you're still being spiritually depleted. Like, outside of, if I were to even remove, which I can't do now, remove my religion from me, because I feel like I am my faith now. But back then, I remember thinking like, and on top of that, you trying to find shortcuts and shit, or like plan Bs or whatever. It's not even making you feel good. So what are we doing here?
Yeah,
like,
and it's cultivating shame, which I think is like, it's similar to, I know a lot of people who have a really unhealthy relationship to like food, or just like this battle. I know, like, I've witnessed in the lives of people I love, where it's like they don't, you know, like they want to lose weight, but then they like feel ashamed anytime they're like eating or doing something that's like bad or wrong, and then it creates like this shame, but then where also you're just like berating yourself. So then if you do something wrong, then you fall more into, I'm using air quotes, wrong for listeners, and then you fall back and you do more of that thing that you feel so ashamed of, and it just becomes this like self-flagellation that just ends in like disappointment, and you just feeling like shit about yourself instead of giving yourself the freedom to just be, which is so much easier said than done. And I think it like is all different paths of your life. The more you like beat yourself over the head, like, I'm not productive enough, I'm not this enough, it's just bad.
I have a question for the both of you, just because I want to get, I like you guys so much now. Like, I want to like get to know you guys more. So another thing that you guys should know about me is that even right before, and I thought it was because I was depressed. So you guys know I came to Christ after being like suicidally depressed.
Yeah.
And, but there was something that I was noting, and I thought it was because of the depression, but it ended up not, I don't think, being it, per my psychologist. I was feeling so much shame and guilt after masturbating. So I actually don't masturbate, and I hadn't been even masturbating even before Christianity. Like I'm not, I don't do it. I don't get it. I just don't like doing it. After I like orgasm, I feel so sad and depressed. To this day, I still feel that way, actually. Like, and it's so funny because I love masturbating with other men in the room. With them doing it. There's like, that's such an intimate and like sexy.
Yeah,
like,
but when
thing.
you're alone, you feel that way.
Oh, forget about it. I wanted to know if you guys have ever felt that way. Like, if you guys have ever felt like sensations, and I say sensations of shame because it's not shame, right? Like I know what I'm doing, but it's like the sensations are comparable to that. So have you guys ever felt that post masturbation?
Big time. Like to this day, we've actually had someone on the podcast. Her name's Evian Whitney. You should check her out. She's amazing. And I now do this practice that she's put on Instagram and her platform, which is like this meditative, sensual, like shame release, because growing up, anything related to sex, unless in the confines of marriage, was just shame for me. And I wanted to explore. I had desires and everything, like Becca was saying before, with like even your mom, you're like, I can't even have a conversation about any sort of feeling. So everything feels like it's done in secret. And even after I was married, and I'm like, I'm living, from a Christian's perspective, I'm good. I can have sex with my husband.
You're praising
whatever.
the Lord.
Yeah, we're worshiping via sex. But I'm like, I still struggle with feeling shame via masturbation. And that's something that I've actually been like really trying to work through in a way of like, it's very off and on. Sometimes I'll masturbate and I'm like, great, good to go. And sometimes I masturbate and I feel like this cloud and depression and shame and all this. And yeah, I've been using this tool, this meditative tool, because I know for me that is shame via my past like trauma, via the church that I was from. So I'm like slowly been trying to really work on that. And I will say that's kind of one of the biggest things that is still an obstacle for me. The fact that you bring up masturbation is interesting, is one of the biggest obstacles for me to get past to when I'm done not feeling that weight of shame.
It's interesting. I was never really taught explicitly that masturbation was sinful.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. Which is interesting. It was actually a non-subject in my household.
Interesting.
We didn't talk about it. And if I had to guess, I would actually guess that my parents' orientation towards masturbation is like unspokenly, like that's okay.
Yeah, a little more lukewarm, or like a little passable. There's a pass.
Porn, no. My parents made it very clear about that they don't watch porn and that's not right. And we had all our computers in like the living room so that like no one could view porn, in front of anyone, and tracking the websites people were on. But to answer your question, like, yes. And I think actually I've realized recently that it's coupled with two things. One, which was shame, the shame that I learned as a child about sex, that again, I mean, I've never been married, but I would venture to guess that like my partner that I'm with right now, or that I had been in the past, like had we gotten married, like I might have felt a little bit better. But I think that, like you said, the sensations in your body of shame are sometimes like your body learns things when you learn things, and it's not always as simple as just undoing the idea or changing the context. But I think that it's coupled with the fact that I've been coming to terms with very recently that never anything big, but I think that there's been varying degrees like of low levels of sexual assault with different partners both in, and not totally consensual experiences, especially in the early days of my like sexual experiences. And so I think that I've been trying to discern that too, of sometimes like a gross feeling will come out because maybe I said yes when my body inside was saying no to my partner, who I love and adore and who cares about me. And so I've been trying to discern that a lot lately, is like, do I actually feel nasty after this? Because deep down I knew that I didn't want to do that. And I consented anyway. So I've been trying to really clarify that a lot too. And like, and really like think within and honor myself of what I feel comfortable doing and what I don't sexually.
He said honor herself.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh my God. You
So
just
true.
hit me. I'm receiving what you just said so deeply. I guess come on my last show, Super Trip Talk, the psychedelic one. And she had asked me about this. And I had just told her a story about this one time where my bar manager, and actors in New York, we bartend, we serve, we do like, these odd jobs
of course,
to make it by. And I was telling her this story of when I first hooked up with this woman. She's honestly just so dope. She's so great. My one and only. And the reason why was because that bar manager at the time, and I was 19 at this time, he threatened my shifts if I didn't hook up with her. And at this time, me thinking now, like, Brianda, that's some weak ass shit. Like, why would you?
Sure.
But now look, but when you're 19,
yeah, I know.
this is your first, you're still developing. You are an adolescent. You know what I'm saying?
You also don't know what's normal and what's not. So you're just kind of like, I guess this is the world.
That's what everyone's doing, I guess. I guess we all got to do something. And I remember
when
that
an authority figure, someone who's supposed to be protecting you, quote unquote, in your space, is like pushing you to do that.
And do you want to know something else? Listen, you got to be mindful for those like good-looking older white men, because they will Ted Bundy the fuck out of your soul. Like, I'm telling you, like this, there's something. He was like an ex-actor who was like washed in 45.
I already know the type.
No, the cringe.
Yeah. So in my when I had just told my guest that story, and then I told her about the shame and the masturbation thing, and she was like, "Oh, honey, this may be deeper than even you think. Like this may be like, or even let's just see, it's even more acute than that.
Yes.
The offenses could be even more subtle. Like the amount of times I've gone on dates with guys that I don't like at all, but feel like I owe them something. So I used to like either suck their dick or make out with them after because they paid for my dinner. Like, Brianda, what? Honor yourself more. Like, what? That feeling like I owe something. Oh, it causes me so much recoil now. The amount of times
I know
that I had to do that I did that to myself. Like,
even more acute than that, the bar conversation with the dude that you are feeling chills up and down your body because he's creepy and he's making you feel uncomfortable, and yet you continue to finish out the conversation. I mean, sometimes it's a matter of safety, so I don't want to discount that, but finishing out and being polite because like, yeah, I'm supposed to be polite to this dude who doesn't deserve shit from me, instead of just being like, I'm not interested in talking to you. I'm sorry.
We just listed 3 different degrees of burn. Like we just listed 3 different distinct examples of when women feel like they are subjected to these violating and abusive engagements with the opposite sex.
Yes.
Ugh. Ladies, who's listening to this? Can I get an amen? Pause the podcast and replay the last 5 minutes if this is you.
It's all of us. I mean, I think I don't know very many people who are born into the world knowing how to navigate patriarchal, oppressive, the environment that we all live in. Like,
yeah, I know. And like you were saying too, when you're talking about then not honoring yourself, it's like even just the idea of masturbation was so foreign to women until very recently, because it is such a patriarchal society that it wasn't even discussed. So of course, in the back of your head, there's going to be this shame that you're processing through, because regardless of how you were raised, we're in a patriarchal society. And it's like, okay, if we're not talking growing up about understanding pleasure, like you said, on your terms when your body wants it, then it always is going to have this like foreign feeling to it that's hard to to combat.
And I'm going to take it one step further too, because of like the oppression that we do all live in that oppresses both men and women. We are also simultaneously told that we are not enough if we are not interested in exploring these certain aspects of our sexuality too. So if you don't want to masturbate, like that is your right, and you're not any less woman or sexual because of it.
You know, I can't. God, girl, get my cell phone number, please. I was just gonna say, there is this one thing that I'll say. That is something that I'm not rushing it to fix. I don't even think it needs fixing.
No.
I just think this is devoid of religion at all. I've always been that kind of person, and I felt even more shame when I would tell like girlfriends about it, or even, I'm such an open book. Sometimes I gotta like rein it in, but like I would like tell people about that thing with the masturbation and stuff, or like being celibate or abstinent, and the amount of like faces I would get, like even this and a lot of it came from the sex positive community, believe it or not.
Sure.
They'd be like, what?
Yeah.
Why? It's like, listen, bitch, just because you're emboldened and empowered by your sexuality doesn't mean that I'm not emboldened and not empowered by my chastity.
Exactly.
Right?
We could be having the same conversation where it's like one person is like, for me to heal, I'm going to try to work through this. Like I was bringing up with like these meditative practices to get there. And in the same exact note, it's like, for someone like yourself or someone else, it's like, no, I am going to abstain from them. And that is how I heal. And that is how I feel best. And that is sex positive, because sex positive is sex that makes you feel fucking positive.
Right. And you're right. And
Whatever form of that it is.
Don't you find that some of the movement is actually counteractive?
Yes.
Like,
I feel that
opposite
way.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I feel that way sometimes, where I feel like I cannot measure up to like being the perfect sexually empowered woman, you know, like, yeah.
I came across, and this is no shade at, her name is Shan Boudram. I've been following her for years. Do you guys know her, Shan?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you guys would be like, she's been on the show.
No.
So I just recently passed by this Instagram post of hers. And by the way, again, I am a fan of hers.
Sure.
Yeah. I would love to one day have a conversation with her. She posted something about almost like she was promoting dating multiple people at a time and then figuring it out. And I say promoting because she used certain verbiage that was like feeling in society, she felt oppressed by thinking that she only needed to date one person at a time.
Yeah.
So I understand where it came from for her in her experiences, right?
Right.
And I saw so many comments of confusion from people, from her own, for praise and confusion. And then my comment, which was neither. It was, oh, wow, great, love your content. This is like, I'm a huge fan of yours. I actually couldn't disagree more. I think that method would cause me a lot of emotional turmoil. It would cause me a lot of unnecessary stress and psychological damage, ultimately. And whatever have you. That comment got like 100 likes, got like a bunch of like engagement.
Sure.
And in my head, I'm like, because that voice is also it needs to be highlighted too.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that there's a part of the conversation. There's a group of people that just aren't bending to that because it doesn't make sense for them.
Yeah. Yes. And I think that the important thing in that is, right, if it doesn't work for you, then it doesn't work for you. And you seem like a person that is fine with that. And then there's plenty of other people that are like, that what?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
You know, it's like, I'm someone who's toyed with the idea. I'm very interested in non-monogamy.
Yeah.
Having learned about it, thought about who I am as a person, you know, like blah, 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 blah. But I'm not going to say that, like, I don't want to ever give off the impression that I think you or anyone or Jess or anyone else is like closed-minded. That's like a big thing, you know, thing that people kind of say sometimes, closed-minded, or, you know, you just haven't done enough of the work to be okay with that, living that kind of life. Cause that's stupid.
Yeah,
that's dumb.
I remember my first friend who dove into non-monogamy, numerous years ago. having a conversation. My husband and I were finally in like a really healthy place in our marriage where it felt like it was going well. And she kind of shamed us for having a monogamous relationship. Like we weren't evolved enough to be in a non-monogamous relationship. I remember it put a really bad taste in my mouth for a while because I was like, well, this is judgmental and I don't like judgment at all. And then when I started to have a conversation with more people, it was like, okay, like it's different. Everyone's different. And like, I completely agree with what you're saying. If people are willing to be like, you know, if that's what is comfortable for you and what you would like, then that's great. But you can't make this a universal truth that, for instance, dating this way is going to bring you joy and pleasure, or masturbating
or more pleasure,
or, you know, and then on top of it, we're also, I always forget, I'm like, we're always leaving out the large amount of people who are asexual in this conversation, who feel a lot of shame than hearing this conversation and being excluded from it altogether.
Right.
I love asexual TikTok, by the way. Asexual TikTok is a group.
Fantastic.
They always come on my For You page because I'm always liking it because I relate to it so much. Like the asexuals love me. Like, I rep them too heavy. I was just going to say, oh my gosh. Like I said, I get hate from both ends. Non-believers hate me. The evangelists hate me. I don't know
I think that's a sign you're doing things right. I do believe that. I do believe that.
Listen, I don't know.
Who hated Jesus? Everyone. I'm not comparing you to Jesus, but just saying.
For the longest time, I remember thinking, actually, and I don't know yet. I just don't know. But I remember thinking, I wanted to be in an open relationship. I never was like a jealous type. I even for one point was like, oh my God, am I getting turned on by watching my boyfriends like flirt with other girls? At one point I remember even in middle school, my like middle school crush, actually I ended up losing my virginity to him, Zachariah Abdusalamati, if he's listening.
Shout out.
I hooked him up with my friend Kayla before he ever got with me. I don't even know why I did that. I just wanted to see if I could do it. There's something, I don't know what's going on here. But I remember for the longest time being like, I think I'll be okay with open. And I'm not, and I don't know now where I'm at now. I haven't thought about it quite enough. So I'm just riffing. I'm off top right now.
Yeah.
But in my head, I'm like, those that are in non-monogamous relationships must be have to be so spiritually aligned, or biblically speaking, equally yoked.
Interesting.
Because the only way that you could ever have a successful non-monogamous relationship is by being so implicitly honest.
Yes.
Who the heck wouldn't want that? You know?
Right.
And talk about a practice with jealousy. We talk about that all the time too. Like, oh my goodness, like a practice on learning how to not be like egocentric and oh my goodness.
Right. It doesn't have to be about letting your partner sleep with other people, but like, what am I confronting? What fear do I have to confront in myself? What fear comes up with the idea of my partner being with someone else, talking to someone else, sleeping with someone else?
I interviewed I was in this kick. You can see this era in my podcasting, era. I was in like a huge, like non-monogamous era because I kept interviewing people that were in non-monogamous relationships. And like, I realized that those that were in non-monogamous relationships weren't even in relationships with other people. Like they weren't even doing stuff. They knew the arrangement that they had. They knew what it was about, but they would go in windows, and the windows were long. Half the time they weren't even seeing other people. Yeah. And what you said was really true about like, it wasn't even about them sleeping with other people. It was more about, being so honest about their interactions in their everyday daily lives, and then observing why they felt a certain way. Like, I don't know if you guys know, Aubrey, what's his name? That On It guy.
Yes.
But anyways, I interviewed his ex, Whitney.
Oh,
Whitney,
wow. Okay.
Simon. That's a YouTuber. Crap, there's so many Whitneys. Oh God, white blonde Jesus. Oh, sorry. Anyway,
but they were in a non-monogamous relationship, right? Or
famously, I interviewed her, and she was saying that when it was more about, like, let's just say if he said I was going to go out to dinner with a female friend or whatever, he would tell her whatever, and she at the beginning would try and observe why she was feeling these sensations of jealousy. It would have her going through like a trip, like an internal trip. Like, why am I? Yeah. Is it because of the way she looks? Is it because of her body? No. Okay, cool. Is it because of her age? Is she younger? Do I have something against my age? Am I having it? Like, it gave her a system to kind of like reconnect to her. even selfishly, right? Like it's so much less to do about the external relationship, the external person, and so much more to do about how am I presently feeling about my age, body, my career, my relationship with him. How am I? How is that going for me? Oh, I feel at a state of peace because of this. Maybe I needed some space.
I think we all need to do it. I get, mad when my boyfriend wants to go spend a night with his friends, like doing drugs or whatever, and then I get mad, and then it's like, why am I getting mad about that? Do I feel like I need more time to myself? And if that's not it, okay. Am I worried that I'm not as fun as he is? Is this right? What beliefs does this say about me? What beliefs am I holding about myself?
Love the poly community. Love the non-monogs. I love them all.
Good shit. But I hear you. I hear 100% what you're saying. Because going back to what we were saying, it was like we don't have to feel shame from not doing all these things. From not having sex, whatever. That's true freedom. That is true freedom.
And so for you, since practicing abstinence and now celibacy, that's where you're feeling like that feels best.
I'm 3 years strong, baby. And I feel, how do I say this? Listen, Justin, Becca, I feel like Cleopatra. I feel so on top of the world because of my celibacy. And it's only getting better. And I feel sexy. I feel sexy.
Right.
I can't explain it.
The absence of sex acts doesn't mean you're not sexual, right?
Yeah.
For sure. But what I want to actually, let me amend that. No, I'm saying that removing the act of sex or sex with others, and also just that alone has allowed me to further pour myself into other meaningful aspects, some other domains in my life that I'm literally seeing them flower, and it is so beautiful. And I've always had a difficult relationship with just romantic relationships with men, and also with my dad and stuff, and it's allowed me to be so inventive and explorative and really figure out how I want to be loved, how I want to be adored. I want to be adored. I want to be yearned for, baby. I want to be desired. And I know that now. And I've got to be, I've had this instinctive way of identifying that in others that is so fine tuned. It may be doing me a disservice because I'm so specific, but at least I was dating this guy who was older, and he didn't want to have kids. It didn't ultimately go anywhere. We're still homies. But we had this energy together that was so exciting for me. And seeing him figure out ways to court me that were outside of our genitals was so exciting and sexy to see. Someone devote so much time to pleasing me in all these other ways, deepening our spiritual connection. I don't know. It really did. Removing the sex for me raised my sexual and my sexual economy, my love economy.
Yeah. I think we've talked about it on the podcast before, or I bring up how sometimes when I'm really in my flow creatively doing things, making things, how I have no sex drive during those periods of time. So it would make sense that you're channeling that energy elsewhere. That totally makes sense to me.
Oh my God, I'm convinced that once I start boning a dude again, I'm probably going to lose my juju, my JoJo, my something. I don't know. I'm going to have to get a writer for the show because I write all of my episodes, and I create the concepts and stuff. And it's such, I have it down to a formula. I have it down to a science. The way I write, when I'm writing, it's such an isolating experience. And I find there's this therapeutic nature to it. Anyone who does something, anyone who's an artist or whatever have you, they have this process. Comedy writers, before they start crafting their bits, their stuff, their specials or whatever, they have this formula down. I am so worried that once I have someone in, they're going to mess up my ish. I'm going to have to hire someone or something.
Protect that space.
Oh my gosh. I know. I was just telling someone the other day, it's because I said, I have been I'm what I miss so much being in a monogamous relationship currently. And I adore adore Grayston. I'm so sorry. I love you so much. This is not, and the reason I could say it is because he feels the same way. We both love the feeling of having a crush, of pursuing someone, you know, of being so like enveloped, thinking about like what they're doing right now. Do they like me back? I mean, it's all very kind of like childish in a way, but it's so fun. And we both just adore that. But I am someone who, if I am currently infatuated with someone, everything else goes to the wind. Like I'll just not show up to work. I'll not do my homework, you know, whatever it is. And then it's like, let's just go. You want to go to the beach today? You called me and you went, okay, bye, everyone. And I'm just like floating away in the wind.
You guys, the other day I was praying to God because I planted so many seeds in my career and things of that nature that I kind of forgot, like, hey, I've planted them. I can turn away and just trust that God is going to do what he does with that. And I can start planting other seeds, like, you know, relationship. Now I do now intentionally want to, I want to seek that while these other things manifest. And I remember this week I was like praying and I was like, you know what, God, I will be happy being single for the rest of my life if that is what you will for me. And then I opened my eyes and I was like, please. I was like, anything, like, can we just bargain something? Just a couple years with someone. Anyway,
I take it back.
Yeah, like, let's negotiate.
Because it's fun. It's fun.
It's a good time.
Yeah. But that peace is a good thing. I mean, I think that that's so important. It doesn't matter what anyone believes in. And that piece of let go and let God, you know, and be like, if this doesn't happen, that's okay. You know, that's so good to cultivate that sense of peace.
I mean, yeah. And I'm also like now in my late 20s and I'm about to enter, you know, the next decade, which I have a feeling is going to be so just like,
I feel it for you.
Yes. I'm not going to be poor. I know I'm going to meet my partner. I mean, I'm just saying, even if it doesn't happen, it's cool. But like, there's so many new things approaching right now. I'm in this pocket of time where you just have no other choice but to let go and let God, because it's going to happen without you.
Yeah.
Like it's going to happen, not without you, whether you like it or not.
Yeah.
So you might as well cause yourself less resistance. It's exhausting. It is.
Yeah. And if you grind your heels in, it's going to get more painful if you're trying to stop it.
So man, just like welcome it, man. I'm just like, God, let me know. I'm a vessel. Where do you want me to go? It's kind of, it's been so alleviating. That's another thing, like adopting this practice, this relationship with Godism practice, right? Through Christ, it's been so alleviating, removing so much pressure off the individual, you know, like, oh man, people say that the fear in God is the part is like the wrench in the wheel. But for me, man, that's reverence. And it's so much more alleviating knowing that another power has it under control.
How did your friends feel about having atheist Brianda go to Christian Brianda? Were they like, what just happened?
Well, I'll tell you something. I've lost a lot of friends, and I've also I haven't lost too many though, because like I said, I'm what they call a lukewarm Christian is what the TikTok likes to call me. And I'm not proud of that, actually. I'm not proud of that, but I just know that I am in this stage, this phase in my faith, and I'm not going to act like something else because I'm saying that's for me, like,
I don't think you're a lukewarm. I don't think you're a lukewarm Christian at all. I don't think so.
The one thing I'll give.
I don't think God would spit you out of his mouth.
You're right. Okay, you know what? And I don't believe so in my heart of hearts. I don't believe that either. But the only thing I'll give the evangelists that critique my show.
Okay.
Yeah. The one thing I'll give them is that I actually do want to stop swearing, using cuss words. And I've been wanting to do that.
Why?
Like, again, because they don't amplify my jokes. I use them as a crutch. When I'm nervous, I lean on them. It's just like other things, like logistical things. I don't want to have a household with my future family that swears. I grew up in a very turbulent, violent household where the only way we displayed any kind of emotion was sandwiched between a fuck and a you. So there are other reasons that I definitely don't. And I'll give them that. Like every single time they like say something, all my TikTok comments, like every time they're like, I wish you wouldn't have said this. I'm always like, nah, man, I feel you. Like, you're right. Like one day, but that day's not today. And there's strength in the gray.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is my discipleship. And I know it doesn't look like this cookie cutter way. I know I'm not wearing a bra and I'm wearing a Fashion Nova mini dress.
Yes.
I understand this. But this is my stage. This is my truth for right now. Let me live it. And let me in turn, like other people will view that and be like, I guess it's a little more approachable. I've never seen this before.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Don't forget.
Back to your question about the friends. I have lost friends, but not that much because I haven't, I'm not like a Seventh-day Adventist at all.
No, I was just gonna say, with those friends that you've lost, why would you say that you've lost those friendships?
Because I no longer like to do drugs in bars.
Okay.
Of course, the pandemic too. But because I don't like to.
You don't want to live the same lifestyle. Yeah.
Yeah. So just out of those reasons alone, I don't want to dirty wine. I don't want to like snort coke in a bathroom anymore. I don't want to do those kinds of drugs anymore. I don't want to. I don't want to. Also, it's like an energy thing as well. Like there were just some people who were unnecessarily combative. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
In a way
that all
that
makes sense.
Like, wow, you guys don't like Christianity for the same reasons that you're doing to Christians. And I just can't jive with that. That goes against everything I represent. That goes against everything I'm growing. Like I said, I'm still a babe in the faith. I'm in an incubator. I can't have that in my incubation. And I say that as someone who is susceptible to, like, I want to make sure that I'm good. So that if that means isolating myself from people that I know aren't going to edify me in that way, then I've been doing a lot of self-imposed reclusion. Like and that's actively deliberate. So
and I'm guessing that's so one day you will feel comfortable enough associating with those people without feeling the overwhelming temptation to live in a way that you don't feel comfortable living in.
Absolutely. Yeah. Like I just am I'm like I said, I'm in this incubation stage and I'm still figuring it out. And while I'm in this stage, I just have to be a little more hyper aware with who I spend my time with.
Yeah, of course.
And that totally makes sense. I was just thinking when you were saying, like, talking about wearing your Fashion Nova dress, I was going to say, don't forget, who did God choose to find Jesus after he was raised? Who were the first women who discovered him?
No, you're right. I don't think that wasn't random. Jesus loved the hoes, the Samaritan woman and Mary Magdalene. I always say, like, he did, like, listen, anytime the Pharisees, like, they'd be like, what are you doing? Why are you sitting with them? He'd be like, bro, why aren't you? Like, these are people, again, these are the stories about Jesus that rarely get told. Like, he was such a homie. He was the homiest of homies. Oh man, this makes me think of my plans with the show and like what I didn't start off with this as a mission, right? But you know how when you start a pod, it starts as one thing and then it starts going in another.
Sure.
I had no idea that I was going to be keeping all the times that I riff in the show. I get more comments on people hearing my, identifying with my tangents more than the things that I actually write. And it just so happens that it may sound a little preachy, which I don't want at all. I keep saying, guys, like, no, that is not my ministry. I don't want to be that. Go somewhere else for that. But that just leads me to believe that people do, or there's something happening, like a spiritual renaissance happening where people are itching for direction, I guess, or
and meaning.
Direction. Yes. And anytime they taste a sliver of that, they want more of it, or like they'll take it in any package they can get it. And now that I've discovered that based off of observing my analytics, my comments, I do all my socials. You're literally talking to me. I'm like I'm like a manic. I don't sleep. I like doing research here for the show because I know where it can go and I know where I want it to go. And I'm seeing more and more that this show is my discipleship.
What's it called again?
Bible Stories with me, Brianda. Bible Stories with Brianda. Please tune in. It's a fun time. It's a really good show, man. And we're getting some eyes on it. Not to pitch my own thing, but I'm on this program.
Pitch it.
It's getting some attention, and honestly, I think we deserve it, man. Like, I think it's a good show. We have a nice close-knit team. We are, the team is black and brown, and we are very vocal about being black and brown. And actually, my two producers are atheists. The Alex Media, who works for Andrew Schultz, you guys know him, Alex Media.
Yeah, for sure.
He is more agnostic, I would say, but Wheezy is more not atheist, but just I think spiritual is what she says. I never know how to take that. I'm like, what is it? We're all spiritual in my eyes, right? But anyways, she likes to say it's more of a openness. Sure. She also does crystal stuff and whatever. So I don't know, bruja, maybe a little bit of a bruja, something. That's the show right there. Like that's our Trinity. We got a Christian, we got a lukewarm Christian, we got a witch hoe, and then we've got a confused agnostic man who's lives life on the edge on the road with a famous celebrity. Those are our three. And if any of those things entice you,
resonate,
come on down to our Bible Stories with Brianda.
I'm not gonna lie, I haven't listened yet, but I'm now going to the minute I get in my car. Also, do you ever have guests on? Because I've got my favorite Bible story to talk about.
You know what? We don't know. I would love to. We keep getting people being like, "Oh my God, come on, we'll open it up to guests and stuff." We don't know yet, but I know for a fact that Bible Stories is going to expand. Like, for example, my average episodes are, I think, 30 minutes. Some are 20 minutes, some are 45 minutes, but we're still figuring that out. I may bump it to 2 episodes a week. Yes. Just because and which is a lot more work.
Big
moves.
But
let me tell you something. Listen, the people they keep on asking me for more. So
I mean, once you're tickling, I'll be real with you, Brianda. I hadn't been diving into the Bible in many years, and then all of a sudden I'm remembering some of these stories. You're talking about Job, you're talking about Noah, and I'm just like, oh my God, I'm remembering all these stories.
Can I suggest? Okay, wait, Becca, if you guys want to listen to my episode, Abraham, Sarah, and Hagar. That episode.
Okay.
We're going for anyone listening. We are going in the chronological order in which the Bible was written.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
So like, it's not just random stories. We're going in order, and I'm doing that so that anyone who's just discovering the Bible can read along. Like, so as they're reading, they can supplement it with some comedy in some way.
Love it.
So right now we're at episode 8, and we're at Abraham. This Wednesday's episode, or I don't know when this comes out. By the time this episode comes out, we will already have released the Abraham and Isaac episode, but we're going in order. So get your Bibles, guys. Go on Amazon.com. The easiest versions to read are the English Standard Version and the New International Version. Yes. Those two are super simple, so you won't hear the "hath thou yeast professed" whatever, like
none of the King James.
Or if you really want to get crazy and loose with it, read the message. I can't handle the message. I can't handle it personally, but that's just me.
I know. Were you raised on the NIV? I was
mostly NIV, then ESV. But yeah, the message, I'd always be like, what the hell? The message is like, God just wants to chill with you, man, and like
I never recommend that one. I never recommend that.
But some people might like it.
If you're actually about this, like no matter what you want to, like you want to stay as true to the Hebrew text as possible. And I think that those two are enough. If you know how to read, like those would be enough for you to understand the phrasing and stuff. And they even like I mean, I don't know if you guys do video, but like this one is the NIV, not that I have the other one over there somewhere, but like they even put what Jesus says in red. They'll have like little parts at the bottom that shows you the etymology of the words. It's a really neat, it's just, if anything else, it's an interesting new evergreen podcast. Like we're sprinkled in some of like Wheezy and I's banter where you have a celibate Christian and literally a bruja
Love it.
Who has one of the leading sex podcasts in the globe.
Love it.
So
I think my favorite arc is you trying to save Wheezy every single episode. It's one of my I'm locked in.
I mean, it started as just a comedic bit, but I can't tell you why. I can't tell you why. And I can say this as she's my friend. She's my close and intimate friend. I would never impose that on someone who I don't know intimately, right? But I pray for her every day. I prayed for this podcast, to be honest with you. I didn't know what it was going to be called. I didn't know what it was going to be, but I just knew that we were going to collaborate before Weezy even met me. And look at what God has done. Look what the Holy Spirit has done. So in my head, I'm like, well, if I managed to do that, then let's just take it a step further. Listen, by next year, Weezy WTF, please clip this. By 2022, Weezy WTF will be quoting scripture.
Timestamped.
I believe it.
Mark that, hubby. Mark that, Evan.
It is time stamped. Brianda, thank you so much. This was such a fun conversation. You are so refreshing. I'll be real, you know, again, with Becca and my background, it's just so nice to talk to somebody who has a beautifully light and wonderful relationship with Christianity and Jesus. And it's just a pleasure.
Yeah.
A pleasure.
You guys,
Nothing but
the
joy.
Conversation was awesome. Thank you so much for having me.
So wonderful. Broads, all the info, the podcast, the YouTube, all of it will be in the episode notes below.
Yeah,
so
you got
make sure
an
you check that out.
Instagram. You want to just say that of too?
Yeah. So it's at Bible Brianda on all things. If you're on TikTok, go to my TikTok. It is a fun time. A lot of my videos go viral over there at Bible Brianda. But you can also find me at That's Brianda is my personal stuff. So I'm like not just Christian stuff over there. So at That's Brianda and at Bible Brianda on everything.
Cool.
Amazing. Thank you so much. We so appreciate you. Broads, make sure to check her out and we'll chat soon.
Chat soon.
Ciao.